Good, good, fantastic. You know what we're doing today, right? Everybody is prepared.
I opened one.
Did you really? Why is that?
I wasn't 100% sure and I didn't ask a question, and so I'm asking forgiveness instead of permission.
Wow. So you're going to hit me with forgiveness right off the bat.
I'm one of those. I am one of those. That's all I can do. But I want you to know, the rest are locked up tight.
So, guys, I have sent you 7 different goodies, and I want you to open it up, each one by one, and I'll direct you to that. I would love to get your response, reaction, your awareness level. How does that sound? Good?
That's good.
It's kind of a reference to good friendships.
So who's salty, who's sweet, and who's sour?
Ooh, we're going to have to figure that out.
That's true, but I understand you're from Hawaii, which means you judge every dish based on whether it could be improved by Spam or pineapple.
So true. You know, I've had people over the years come here and not want to have that. And I say, look, have you ever eaten a hot dog? God knows what's in that.
It's probably just about as tough as being a food critic in Hawaii. Every meal has to compete with a backyard luau.
Exactly. Have you guys ever done that before?
I have. Not
you?
in Hawaii, but it's a pseudo one in Oklahoma.
Right. Let's get down to doing the tasting. Okay, so Nick Nugget and Jason and Jared all open up number 5, and we'll kind of go from there and see what you think. Ooh, okay.
So here's the deal. Did you steal something from Delta? Because this is the only time we eat these things. And I love the paste of them. I love the Biscoff paste.
How can you not love that?
Oh, it's so good.
Jason, are you aware of this product? And Nick, are you aware of this product?
I'm being cultured here. Product of Belgium, it looks like.
Yep.
Yeah, I've
Belgium
only had it
on
a Delta flight as well.
Do your thing, do the sniff test and do the taste test and all of that.
Almost like a molasses. I never sat there and analyzed Biscoff before.
It reminds me of a dog treat.
I hope it tastes better than kibble.
Got that good green
packaging and
mouthfeel.
organization, I can say that before trying it.
Almost like chewing on sand.
So is that a positive reference?
No.
Okay.
I have to say taste is better than the texture.
I think that's what Jared was just basically saying with the sand-related comment.
And then the after kind of gives you the same texture as before you chewed it. Chewed it really well.
I think it might be better with a warm beverage.
What would be the perfect beverage, Nick, with this?
Well, and maybe it's just a subliminal thing because of the name, but I was thinking like biscotti. So I was thinking like some coffee, like kind of dip it in a little coffee or hot tea.
That's a very interesting comment, Nick, because the name Biscoff is a cross between biscuit and coffee.
Yes, biscuits in European countries are not the same as biscuits that we associate with here in America. This is considered a biscuit. A cracker could be considered a biscuit in so many ways. Whereas we have that luscious, flaky, ethereal, delicious dough.
With biscuits, I like the really fluffy, kind of airy biscuits. Like if I saw a biscuit on a shelf and they called it an air biscuit, well, actually, I probably wouldn't buy it but something like that, like a fluffy biscuit, I think that's what I would go for.
To me, that combined 2 or 3 aspects of different foods in that criteria, I guess I would say. In other words, it was crunchy, so it was almost like a cracker. It was sweet, almost like a dessert, and then it kind of combined those 2 or 3. So that was the overall thoughts that I was having.
Jason, what beverage would you have with that? Would you get some milk with this?
Yeah, I would be pretty simple. Being in the Midwest, I'm just going to dunk that in whole milk or 2% milk and kind of go to town, but it can't be saturated. It's got to be just lightly covered, just to clarify.
Gotcha. So you don't dip till it falls apart. You just dip a tiny bit.
There you go. Yep. Can't have chunks swimming around in the milk because I got to be able to chug the milk and have a little bit of the after flavor.
So I'm gathering that you guys don't love this. I'm going to ask you for 1 to 10 rating. Jared?
I mean, I'm trying to compare it to what it is, a sweet cracker / cookie, and I'd give it a solid 3.
Okay, solid 3 on the Biscoff. Nick, what do you think? 1 to 10.
I would say, I have to agree, I'd say a 3, maybe a 4 if, if I had some THC in my system. But I would say a 3. Yeah.
I need drugs to get it to 4. That's great. Oh, I love it.
So you have no THC in your system now?
Well, not fresh anyway.
Okay. Jason, what about you? 1 to 10.
I'm going to have to go with a 5, and the reason being is because it pleasantly surprised me based on the packaging and what I actually thought it would be versus what it ended up to be. So I'm only giving that about the same rating as him, but I got to go +2 just on the pleasant surprise of the taste.
I like how Jason included the another sense to it. Like he included the visual. You know, he was
That's
talking about
right.
the package.
Do you guys notice any holiday spices in that biscuit?
I got some molasses or something darker that would probably be more wintry. You know, I think it smells better than it tastes, to be perfectly honest. But I mean, the smell did not improve the taste. And also, you know, I need to preface it. 5 for me is just average, just straight in the middle. Smell is probably a 5.
Just to
Okay.
define my scale, I'm not as sophisticated here, so I'm not a breakfast guy. So I'm going to have to go with a 5. I would probably try it once a week for breakfast on the run. If I give it much higher than a 5, I'm going to have it a couple times. My 9s and 10s are reserved for. I would eat it in quick fashion, you know, almost every day.
That's good. That's very layered. I like that.
I think I taste some nutmeg. Is that possible?
Yep, it definitely is
Yeah.
possible, and I
There
think
you
you're
go.
right on the money with that. Yeah.
Johnny on his
Good.
senses there, Nick. Good job.
Before we go on to tasty goodie number 2, Nick, what is the nugget thing?
That is just my that is my food alias. Okay, so I have Nick Nasty, and then there's just Nick Williams, and then Nick Nugget.
How does Nick Nugget stand out? How is he different than Nick Nasty?
Well, we don't talk about Nick Nasty, but Nick Nugget he's in food mode. You know, Nick
Now
Nugget.
I want to know about this nasty thing.
Now that's my wrestling name.
But we do live in the Midwest. Nick and I are actually friends. We work together just for the audience at large. We do a podcast together to build camaraderie away from work. We're basically friends of probably 3.5 years.
Next box.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
product of China.
Jared is laughing. I have to ask you, what does the laughter mean?
The laughter means I just wasn't expecting shiitake mushroom crisps. It's just I'm tickled because I'm intrigued. It's gonna be fun.
Oh, you've never had them?
No,
Oh, my gosh. Nick, what about you? Nick Nugget?
Never. I've never even heard of them.
Okay. And Mr. Jason?
Being from northern Indiana, mushrooms are about $40 a pound. So I'm actually excited. I've seen grocery bags full of mushrooms before that are worth a lot of money. They taste very good. So I got to be honest, I'm excited about this one.
ooh,
Good, good. This is definitely one of our snack favorites.
it smells like that umami flavor from a mushroom. It's got that. I want to say it has that almost like, I don't want to say soy sauce smell, but it's got that yeasty smell.
Yeasty.
That's the powdered crack, Jared.
Oh, so it's got some seasoning on it to kind of get you, like MSG kind of.
So your brain thinks it's going to be salty, but it really turns out to be sweet on the back end. It's not
Exactly.
particularly salty. And I can't tell if these are actual mushrooms dehydrated or if they're made a paste into a mushroom mold.
I think for sure that they are mushrooms, although the paste into a mold thing is done in food service and around the world, but these are mushrooms that are dehydrated.
My expectations were high on these because you didn't smell a traditional, what I'm going to call spongy, wet grocery store mushroom.
I really like these. I could eat, like, these are one of those kind of foods that you could not put the bag down.
A crack.
Like,
Yeah, keep
got
them
that-
around during the show. You guys can just munch away on those.
I almost think you have to rate these on a different scale, though. Like, you can't rate these on, like, the normal, like, if you were going to a Michelin restaurant scale, you know, like, because, but I'd say as for a snack, I'd give these like a 6 or a 7.
Very good. Jason?
I'd have to follow suit with that. I'd have to go 7 on that. I think I could see myself consuming those just at random times when I don't really want a lot of meat and protein, but I definitely don't want trash from the vending machines. I think those kind of service is that middle of the road scale for me.
Okay. And to 10?
I would go 7 on those.
Jared, you were giggling when you were opening up the package?
For me, the smell really started off, and the first flavor was definitely more of an umami flavor, but it faded quickly into almost a sweet flavor. And so I like the initial taste, and I'm getting almost a rice and corn flavor at the back end more so than the mushroom. I'd probably give it a 5 or a 6. I could probably give it a solid 6.
Probably what you're tasting is if there's maltodextrin and MSG, you're getting a little bit of that balanced, salty,
Yeah.
sweet flavor.
And I do love MSG. I can't deny
Who
that.
doesn't? I mean, right?
Yeah.
It
I do.
tells your brain that you're in heaven.
I'd have to say on
really
those,
does.
if everybody's eyes closed in my family and I hand them one of those, I don't know that anyone would say mushroom.
I think you're right. They are a treat, and people definitely have different responses to it.
I think that if the flavor from the initial bite stayed throughout, then I would say mushroom, but it fades a little quickly.
Is the initial hit a salty one on that product?
And then the back end is almost sweet for me, or sweet, or a very neutral flavor profile.
Very random thought here, but I would throw those on a salad as a crouton.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would work really well. Nick is chewing on his nuggets right now.
I'm digging it.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
They're addictive, I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they really are.
Kind of the seasoning kind of reminds me of when you get by those flavored almonds. You know that
The smokehouse almonds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got like the I can't even think of the flavors, but like it'll be like the jalapeno, whatever, the wasabi, and yeah, that's kind of what it reminds me of. What flavor
guys,
would these be considered?
I don't know if they have a defined name for the flavor. What would be the right beverage for this, guys?
Beer, I'd say,
I was expecting that. Jason, Jared?
I almost want to say a Coca-Cola.
or that.
Something spicy.
Well, they wouldn't taste sweet at all next to a Coke.
No, they wouldn't. That's what's throwing me for a loop. I really don't want them to be sweet on the back end personally. They are sweet.
I'm going to be out on a golf course and I'm going to consume an Arnold Palmer. And then I'm going to have those as kind of a wash down, just a neutralizer. That would be my initial thought.
Iced tea. That's a good one.
Okay, so an Arnold Palmer for Jason and iced tea for Jared without the lemonade. Very good. You don't see those too often out here.
I mean, really, you don't see them too often here unless you are at a golf course. You know what I mean? Like with the beverages that I've noticed anyway.
The value fiber in my diet because I'm good there if you kind of follow me there. But I did notice a high fiber content back on the ingredients too. Just kind of throwing that out there.
Well, yeah, I think so. What do you mean you're good there?
Yeah, elaborate, Jason.
I don't have to add to the diet. I wake up for fishing tournaments at 2:30 in the morning and it's the clock ticks regardless of what time I wake up and what's going on. It's heading in the right direction.
It's one thing I miss about smoking cigarettes. Is like get up, drink coffee, chain smoke until nature calls.
Okay,
Nature
so
call?
like when the levee breaks.
When the levee breaks.
Speaking of when the levee breaks, have you guys noticed a lot of attention about Led Zeppelin on the social media these last few weeks?
No, I don't know how I missed that.
I guess Robert Plant's been in the news. There are a couple of documentaries coming out about them and, all this. I mean, 50, 60 years later.
Is it like a scandal or a controversy or something? Or
No.
Oh,
it's,
okay.
Entertainment. They're just celebrating the guys,
Gotcha.
Oh, I love Led Zeppelin. Please, no.
I know, that's what I'm thinking too. Anytime I hear about something big like that could potentially involve a bunch of people, I'm always like, God, man, who am I going to have to not like anymore? I hate that.
Yeah.
I got to throw in a random fact with a death last night. George Foreman, as you well know, some people call his Foreman grill the innovation. Other people think it was bought for the namesake. So just kind of throwing that out there.
Did he invent that?
Don't know on that. I would assume he had something to do with it. He endorsed it. I can say that.
I think it was a waffle maker.
Basically. But I think that waffle maker with a different mold so that you had more of you could either cook a steak. It was basically right. It's like a waffle maker with...
So waffle maker, and in Europe, they've had panini presses for a really long time. But I think that,
I need one of those.
His fame made that product, I think.
Oh, it is 100% his fame made that product because he not only he marketed it for a healthy alternative. Watch that grease cook out is what the big deal was because I remember that
into that nasty little tray. Yeah,
into that nasty little tray that no one probably wanted to clean. I wouldn't sit there and call it a healthy anything, but he made it work because he went on the QVC and was like, "I'm gonna knock out fat." With all due respect, it was sad to see him pass.
Jason, was he the one that had like 7 or 8 sons, and they were all named George? Like
now,
George
Nick,
1, 2, 3.
I'm going to introduce you to my sons, George. Yes, you are correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And no one man can beat 4 man was his slogan.
Did they at least have the first, second, third, senior, junior thing going on?
I think, don't quote me on this, but I think he did up to like 4 or 5. It was literally like George, first, second, third, fourth. He just kept going with it, if I'm not mistaken.
I feel sorry for number 2.
Yeah.
He was a real nasty guy early in his career and then became this sweetheart pastor type in his later part of his life.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yes.
Well, he was very nasty in his career. He was good, and he came out of retirement when he won on that championship. That was incredible.
His punches were thrown with pretty slow velocity, but apparently huge power because he used to knock guys out, but he looked slow.
Slow and accurate, though.
Don't you guys feel like that boxers tend to find themselves after their career? Tyson, perfect example. He's an interesting cat. You know what I mean? Like, there was a bunch of things, like when he was a boxer, he was, but now that he's not really boxing anymore. I don't know if you guys ever watch his YouTube videos or anything like that. He has a pigeons that he goes and feeds every week. He knows every single one of their names. And there's all these little like very interesting things about him that you would never think about Mike Tyson, but he's like a big teddy bear, you know? And I feel like a lot of those boxers and fighters, they kind of find themselves after their career. Like, okay, this is actually who I am.
That's an interesting observation, although he took a very circuitous route to get to become a teddy bear after, all the various things he did early on.
True, yes.
Jared, let's start with you.
Biscoff cookie and a shiitake mushroom crisp.
Okay, so look at that. What respect to fast before the show here on 50 Tastes of Grey. Jason, what about you? What did you eat today?
Same, the Biscoff and the Shiitake. And based on my comment from earlier, the first three letters are S-H-I-T. So I solidified what the thing was on the back. Just throwing that out there real quick.
Everything goes around there. And Nick, what about you?
You are high in fiber, evidently.
So I'm the same. Also fasted before the show. I'm dedicated.
Well, look at you. I'm totally honored.
Nice job.
What do we got there, guys?
Got nuts. Mixed crackers.
I thought they were nuts too.
Oh, I know what these are.
So, guys, these are really popular here, as they are all over Asia.
Yeah.
They're Japanese rice crackers, senbei, and you see them everywhere all the time here and in Asia. It's made from rice flour, and spices, and so on. And it's a snack that I think is another addictive snack.
Wow.
Were those wasabi peas?
Maybe this is harsh, but I almost got to get past the smell to want to taste. I like what I see, but I don't know that I like what I smell.
Describe the smell.
I don't really smell
Almost
much.
like a fried chicken smell, but not. It's
Kind
a
of like
fried
the
smell.
wood when you're building your fire up. The wood before you throw on the huge logs, kind of like a kindling woodsy smell. Well, is that I think I see seaweed.
Yeah, you do.
The only thing I recognized was the wasabi peas, but I love anything spicy, anything that like blasts your mouth like this. I love. So yeah, I could definitely eat
You
this
mean
whole
the
thing.
horseradish pea?
Or is that what it is?
Jared,
The overwhelming majority of wasabi and sushi and it's horseradish with coloring.
that's right. That's right, because real wasabi is really expensive.
It's so good though.
So educate me. What is wasabi versus horseradish?
Absolutely different products. Horseradish is pretty inexpensive, and wasabi is super expensive. But you don't see it even when you go to sushi restaurants. 99.9% of the Japanese places don't have real wasabi, but most
Really?
people wouldn't know that. Yeah.
So what do they just dye it?
Yeah.
Is that-
It's
okay.
basically horseradish root, just what Jared said, dyed green.
The real wasabi has almost a floral flavor to it. It's really delicate. It's spectacular.
So Jared, you'd be able to, if you tried one of them without having them side by side, would you know for sure right off the bat which one was authentic and which one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The flavor profiles are so distinctly different. Real wasabi does not go up your nose as abrasively as horseradish. And horseradish is much more stringent, more aggressive on the palate.
See, I like that though. I like it. Like I like crying while I eat. I love like you said, goes up
Right.
your nose and you're just like, whew, hurts so good. Just love it.
One thing about wasabi that's fresh and ground, I don't even want to mix soy sauce with it because it's such an incredible, delicate flavor.
And chances are when you encounter real wasabi, you're going to know it because you're going to see the sushi chefs out in front grating it on a plastic grater.
If you guys, Jared, I think you said you've been there, but if you guys ever come to Indianapolis, you have to go to St. Elmo's. They are known for their shrimp cocktail. Since we're talking about horseradish, I've finished it before and continued eating it with crackers. That's how much, I loved
Good
it.
stuff. I bet that sounds good. Like if it's a nice plump shrimp that has an appropriate level of salt, but it has that sweetness in the flesh, and it's not too rubbery, then I think it's delicious, whether it's cold or warm.
It's got to be coconut
Jason?
encrusted, and it's got to be natural. And make the tail common sense that I bite 3/4 of it off and enjoy it. I don't want to bite onto a tail. I got to spit back out with the shell and the skin and stuff. I'm not cool with that.
And you said that it's obvious that Nick likes boiled shrimp, but to be honest, I'm not really a shrimp person. It's really more about the cocktail sauce. Like I'd be fine with chicken cocktail. Like if they give me like some little chicken pieces, I'd dip it in the shrimp cocktail and like it, just as much. Shrimp kind of weirds me out. I'll be honest. Like unless I'm going to somewhere fancy. Shrimp kind of weirds me out because, well, I didn't want to talk about it because, it's just gross. I think you know where I'm going with it. Just kind of.
Growing up in Indiana, Nick's idea of elevated cuisine is putting ketchup on steak.
Not just any ketchup. What's it called? The flavored ketchup. You know, the
I don't know.
jalapeno ketchup.
I've not had that.
So I would say diversification on what we're showing here, the mixed crackers. I was thinking I was going absolutely nuts because I thought that's what I was going to be eating. And I opened this thing up and I popped that metal tab, which kind of some air blew up in my face. And then all of a sudden, I've got a whole variety of stuff in there. I would almost liken it to a mix between beef vegetable soup, which is a cuisine that we eat in the winter to get our extra vitamins, and Chex Party Mix. I would put it somewhere in the mixture between those two things. I like the diversification as well. I feel like one can of this is equal to 6 or 7 other snacks individually packaged. So I was impressed with the variety that I'm encompassing as I'm enjoying this.
Jason, you could be a food critic. That was very detailed.
Down home food critic. I love it. Jared, 1 to 10.
This is going to sound bad, but I'm going to give it a 4. And the reason I'm going to give it a 4 is out of everything, it's the one thing that I keep going back to, but because I know it's got the salty initial flavor profile that was stronger than the mushroom, so my brain is immediately drawn to that MSG and sweet, salty umami flavor. The back end of it, after having a couple of bites, there is some differences, like the wasabi peas. It adds a little bit of not textural, but flavor difference as it's a little more pungent. But ultimately, after some bites, it all started to taste the same. But my mind liked that initial salty sweet hit that I got at the beginning of that's tied to the MSG, but really as a flavor, taking away my love of MSG, it's kind of the same after a couple of bites.
Are there any snacks that you would sit down and eat that change from mouthful to mouthful?
Probably Chex Mix, to be perfectly honest, because I can taste between the rice and the rice crackers and the whole wheat crackers, and I can taste the difference between the garlic crisps, the garlic little brown rounds. So that's a little bit more diverse if you're going with that, or a mix where it's that pub mix where you have peanuts, the distinct flavor of peanut, then the distinct flavor of sesame stick, then the distinct flavor of the garlic crouton thing.
Nick, Jared gave it a 4. Where do you sit or stand on this?
I'd give it a 5. I mean, I because like the mushrooms, I will keep eating these. You know, they're tasty. But like I said before, I really like the horseradishy wasabi feeling in my nose. I like that a lot.
And Jason, what do you think?
Just like Siskel and Ebert, I got to give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I'm going to have to go with a 6, and the reason I do that is because with an historical background of the mushrooms being a 7, I value the taste of consistency. Although I bragged earlier about the diversification in the can, that was only because I thought it was going to be consistent. So I'm going to have to give it one step below Shiitake mushrooms, and just in case I butchered that pronunciation, I believe that's the Hoosier pronunciation. But I don't have to deal with numbers like Nick does, because that's what he does. So he has to have like the fancy Nick Nugget 6-piece. I just don't.
It's actually Nouget.
There you go.
Nick Nouget.
There you go.
But no, I think if you added some of the Biscoff to the mix of the crackers to give it like a sweet back end there, see, I think that you could turn it up. I might actually give it a 5.5.
Actually take some of that mix and just mix it all to crunch up some shiitake, crunch up some Biscoff.
There you go. Yeah.
I was going to say throw the last 2 together and give it that, in other words, I'm going to eat half that can and then fill it back up with some mushrooms, and maybe I can eat a can and a half or 2 cans for the price of 1.
There we go.
Hey, Jared, real quick. So you were talking about Chex Mix would probably be the closest thing to different flavor profiles throughout. What I bet you like, because I do. I bet you like the mixed nuts that have like the M&Ms and like the different random things in there, right? Because that definitely you can have different flavor profiles in it.
Oh, you got the dried fruit that's really sweet. You have the M&Ms, which is chocolatey sweet. Then you have salty nuts. Yeah, that's
the yogurt raisins.
Yeah, so it's things like that where I get a diversity of flavors. But I absolutely admit that personally, I'm just going to sit down and keep eating these because it's got that flavor profile my brain is hardwired to.
Mm-hmm.
And I recognize that.
America.
Jared, let's talk a little bit about the psychological profile when it comes to eating, when it comes to your observation of people eating or food in general. How do you blend in your background as a psychologist into the career of restaurant reviewing?
So I am all about trends, and I see that people are ultimately going to order what they like or perceive they like based on their childhood or their upbringing. They're going to not like the same reason. We're shaped by our experiences and our environment. And so what we do is we form biases against food and propensities towards certain foods. And so what I see is a lot of people going to their favorite restaurant. First of all, they go to their favorite restaurant because it's safe. It's where they know they've spent the money. And so they keep going to the same restaurant over and over because they don't want that is the best for them, and they're pattern-seeking individuals. And then they go to their best restaurant, they order the same things or same one or two things over and over. And that's what I've sort of shown, and what restaurants generally pick up is they know their demographic, and so that's what they do. So the restaurant then feeds the people what they want, but there's no diversity. If you have 3 different places doing 3 different cheeseburgers, I bet you they're each different in some way. But we're still going to go back to the one that we love, even if we haven't tried the other 2. And I always encourage people to be aware of that and give it a shot, give it a chance, get over the anxiety and give it another try.
One of the things I've noticed over the years, for a long time, I speak to people who are foodies. That's why they used to go on my Hawaii food tours. And so I would ask people, what restaurants you go to? And most people are unable to respond because I think they're a little bit intimidated speaking to a person like Jared or a person like myself. It's because people go to the same 3 restaurants all the time. And that's just the reality. The other stuff is really, like the fancy places, like how many times a year? Once that people go. People don't want to admit that they go to the Indian buffet or to Jack in the Box or wherever it might be. That's the reality, wouldn't you say, Nick, Jason?
Absolutely. I would definitely say that, because I like how Jared always challenges me on the steak thing, because it really does make me think. I'm like, okay, maybe I just need a diverse, because really, even if you go to a different kind of restaurant, even a higher end one, it's really not that much more expensive. It's really not. I mean, unless you're trying to get so full that you're miserable, which is usually what happens at most of the kind of restaurants that I am accustomed to going to.
I really like Jared and Matt, how you're able to kind of be what I'm going to call more selective.
Jason, I have to ask because I'm unaware, what do you do for work that puts you into a time crunch?
I'm in admissions, so I work at the same school as panelist Nick Nouget. So basically, he's the financial aid analyst. I'm the admissions person at the college. So for instance, if I have an appointment at 1 and 3, I've got to kind of eat a 15, 20, 30-minute lunch as opposed to, well, I can take, an hour away, 15-minute drive time and kind of have that extra time.
All right, boys, let's go to the next treat. What number is this?
I think if my Indiana math is serving me correctly, we're number 3.
Yeah, this is from England.
That's right. Exactly.
This is from England,
by
yeah.
Cadbury.
Yeah, this is in English. You don't see this in the States very often unless it's in a specialty European English store.
Sorry to not be cultured, but I'm assuming Flake, maybe? Blake?
Blackie.
Now, this is interesting here. I got to point out on the back of the package, expiration date is EU format, day, month, year. So I'm just being honest, I don't see that every day. I think that's kind of interesting.
Right.
This comes at you. It's like, black.
Well, did you see Jared's face? He's freaking over there.
Oh, it's disgusting.
Oh, wow. So he's going to give it a 9, I guess, man. Holy cow.
It tastes like corn syrup and is sickeningly sweet.
But it's from England. I didn't think they believed in...
Yeah, have you had
Fruit,
English
high
food?
fructose.
This is confirming every stereotype that you've ever heard.
It's not a texture that I would say that I like.
I actually like the texture, but the it is a little bit in your face, like when you first bite into it. I wouldn't have been able to call out the corn syrup, but it is very, very sweet.
Does it burn the back of your throat like the Hershey's bars do?
Yeah, this Hershey's is.
Is it acceptable to take a package that we've already done and kind of wash that flavor out?
Yeah, by all means, snack away,
Wait,
bro.
you mean you don't have your lemon? You don't have your lemon to cleanse your palate, Jason?
What is it, the ginger that you get those little
I
leaves?
guess it's not corn syrup, but it's sickeningly sweet. It doesn't taste like milk chocolate, but it tastes like cheap chocolate.
I couldn't recuperate from the texture. I didn't like the texture. If it would have been smooth, I would have gave it a shot. I'm going to have to be harsh on this one. When I go into Meijer the day after Easter's over, and I get those candies that's kind of the unpopular candies that people didn't like, I would almost put it in that category. I find that difficult that people actually look at that as a, hey, that's a treat, or I like. I'd have to give that a 3, actually.
Okay. Mr. Nick?
3 is what I was going to say. It almost tastes more like an ingredient. Like, I feel like it would work better in like some kind of, how I wouldn't want to just eat a bag of white chocolate chips. But you would do that?
I mean, a 2 is generous. The only reason it's not a 2 is because Brach's chocolate is below that.
The texture, which I understand was a happy accident. It kind of spilled out of the molds and found its way down into the machine, and someone looked at it and they thought it was an interesting texture, and they started marketing it that way.
You can kind of share it at a party with you and 6 of your friends and kind of all sample it together.
You could do that with a lot of. You could do that with condoms. You know, like the past. If we're talking about,
I'd
packaging.
rather eat condom.
I'd say it tastes like I don't know, like sadness, regret, and expired mayonnaise had a baby.
So it's truly a 1.
Yeah,
3 is generous.
As it
3,
resonates in my teeth, yes.
it's really abrasive stuff. I mean,
I'm surprised it's by Cadbury because I love one of those Cadbury eggs every once in a while. I can only eat one. So
The best
sweet.
thing about this product is the packaging.
I take one of these to my boss because he's he's big into the Cadbury eggs. I wonder if I don't know. I bet he'd like this. What are you crunching on?
I'm hitting up those mushrooms just because
Okay.
mushrooms are so expensive
gotta
around here.
get
$40 a pound. I'm going to throw it out at you. $40 a pound for mushrooms. We don't really have a snack like that, so I keep going back to that, actually.
Good. Glad you're enjoying it. Okay, guys, let's go to the next one, whatever it is.
It is number 4.
Quatre or cat, since we're talking about the French, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is going to be rough for
is
some
hitting
of us.
Jared's spot. What do we have there? Smoked oysters.
Ooh, you got me a little scared.
Before the show, Jared, we were talking about what pregnant women can and can't eat, and I'm going to have to assume that this goes on the do not eat
dude,
list.
You can have Rocky Mountain oysters. However, I wouldn't do that.
Rocky Mountain oysters come in pairs. You know that.
Yeah, there you go.
There, you got the pull tab there.
I want to get out my key. Do they make those anymore? You're like,
You know, I think they do, but not as much as they used to. So, Jason, you're a fisherman. I'm assuming that this works for you, this kind of a product.
I'm actually a little intimidated because as weird as this sounds, my mom used to make clams and I couldn't get down with that. I love tuna, by the way. I love sushi. I know tuna is sometimes in sushi, but I'm hoping that these aren't the gooey, like nasty ones. I'm a little bit leery of this one. I got to be and it is.
These have been smoked, so they shouldn't be gooey. That was a
Now,
good
is it a
open.
dumb question to ask if I should go get a fork?
Yeah. No, it's not a dumb
look,
question. Yes, you should
Nick,
get a
I
fork.
got you covered.
I'll be off
Mini
here.
There we go.
fork.
why did I
got
not
the
take that
little
from the
fork.
restaurant like you suggested? See, next time I've got to take it.
There's
Hold
a
on, let
fork
me-
in the road. I'll be right back.
You know, the show that Jared and I did with Nick and Jason, we talked about the cocktail fork, didn't we, Nick?
We did. We absolutely did.
And Jared was armed.
Actually,
So, Jared, what's your guess? Do you think that they smoked that over real smoke, or do you think that's smoke flavoring?
it actually tastes like they might have smoked it over real smoke.
So I'm assuming we've tried it by now.
I've tried it. Yeah.
Jared has. He made some great faces again, which is really perfect for a visual medium like this.
Man, I want to say something. I wanted to hate it, but I can't
Yep.
say that I do. Like, it exceeded expectations for me. I was
Keep in
thinking like
mind-
snotty, like kind of nasty, like absolutely repulsive. The texture's not bad. I would like to try it almost a drier as opposed to having the liquid that I'm kind of dipping it in. But overall, exceeded expectations. I'm going to hold out on my 1 to 10 scale until directed to give that number.
Usually, guys, this would be served with some sort of a cracker and maybe
I was
a little
gonna
bit
say
of
a saltine or
cheese,
something.
maybe some bubbly, dry white wine,
So like an hors d'oeuvre.
like an hors d'oeuvre, like a horse's ovary, right?
Hors d'oeuvre? Oh, okay.
You just caught that. Sorry.
Yeah, Nicky Nugget's not liking it.
I mean, it could be the.
The graininess, how it disintegrates on your tongue. Yeah.
Oh, that's just one of the things. It could be. It also could be the previous foods. You know, still chilling in my mouth, and then that. But yeah, I'm not. And I like seafood, but I don't know. Not by itself. Not by itself. I think you're right. Maybe if I had it with a cracker or something to kind of help with the texture, you know.
I think that the drawback of it is I've had smoked mussels and smoked oysters, fresh smoked in Maine. I get them from Whole Foods and they're fresh. They're not in oil. The texture is a little firmer, so it's not rubbery, but it's still firm. It's got that smoky, so it has that actual initial smoky flavor that's pleasant. I think they smoked them through and through, so there's no. It goes from you bite into it and it almost evaporates into graininess on your tongue. It really is a solid 2.5, 3.
Nick, you're just not into that at all. I can tell by your face.
I'm gonna give it a 2 for me. I just
Actually,
it's
rough.
I can't get any of the senses. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to look at the silver lining, and I'm just not. It's more of a very like a grayish black lining.
One of the unheralded things you have to do as a tournament fisherman is you have to have an iron stomach. It's not acceptable to take the walk of shame into the woods and come back 3 pounds lighter. So I'm grading this on a scale. I'm grading this on a different scale than the scale that I've established up to this point. So I'm grading it a 5. The reason I'm grading it a 5 is because as a fisherman, a gas station turkey sandwich with nasty cheese is considered a delicacy at 2:30 in the morning when everything else is closed and you're heading on the way to the ramp and you have to have rations. Vienna sausage is actually kind of a little bit higher class than that same gas station that has the attendant that has multiple tattoos, and they are kind of zoned out when I go in there. So therefore, the only thing that I wouldn't rate it higher with would be the juice and stuff, because if I spilled that juice on someone's $80,000 bass boat, I'd probably be clotheslined into the water. But actually rating it a little bit higher than the aforementioned 2. So therefore, with the long answer, I'm giving that a 5.
Jason, you mentioned tattoos. Tell us about yours.
I have none. I'm not judging tattoos at all, but it seems like the general crowd that I see in the lakes that I go to, you see at least double digits, and I can't say they're the best, and I'll stop there.
And Nick, what's your tattoo?
Mine, actually, if for anybody that's watched our show from the beginning, I had never had a tattoo, and I got this as a promo for our show on camera. But it's not the best. It's not horrible, but you know they say to never get a free tattoo, so there you go. But it's a guitar, and then the strings say, "Don't die with your music in you." Like I had the idea for this for a long time, but I probably should have gotten it done from a more of a professional. But
cover up. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna get it touched up for sure.
Hey Nick, can you show that more in the middle of the screen so the audience can see it? You did a good job to you, but maybe more towards the middle, please.
There you go.
Now you're better.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's interesting.
I like the quote on that a lot.
That was by Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Oh, yeah. Jared, what about you? Your tattoo?
Nope. I own every single season of Ink Master. Love the addiction to the infighting and arrogance, and love the ink artwork. Huge tattoo snob. Now, there's not a symbol, word, phrase, or design that resonates with me for more than a couple of months, and I don't want something on my body for the rest of the life. And also, I'm a delicate flower. I don't want to deal with pain. I don't like pain.
Jared, I have to tell you, that is the reason I did not want a tattoo forever, is because I'm so flighty that I thought, man, what if I get something and I wake up the next day and hate it? You know what I mean? It is true what they say though. Once you get it, there is a certain addiction to it, because it didn't hurt until they got to like the wrist part. The rest of it, like I could have almost fallen asleep. It was like a droning, like it's, you know what I mean? Just kind of so yeah, interesting.
Over 40% of the adult population in the United States have tattoos, and here only one of us 4 has one.
We're in the minority.
Yes, for once.
And mine's more attributed to, midlife crisis kind of thing. So
I just buy cars.
Would you buy a Tesla?
Absolutely not.
No, let's not go there.
Hold on. I need to preface that by saying this. I've driven a Tesla, and it's not about political beliefs, or it doesn't matter about Elon Musk. What I don't like about Tesla, and I put a lot of research, because I do drive an EV. And first off, he swapped out, for all his technology that goes with the self-driving and the sensors, he swapped out LiDAR technology, which is the gold standard, the most advancement to keep everybody safe, with camera technology, which is statistically proven to cause more accidents, not be as accurate. So it doesn't sensor it correctly. If you sit inside a Tesla, it is made of cheap plastic, and it does not feel particularly comfortable or refined, yet it markets itself as a luxury vehicle. If you know true luxury, it is a downgrade. Finally, where are you going to take that sucker if something goes wrong? Well, I'm going to tell you where you're going to take that sucker. You're going to put in an online ticket, and they're going to try and diagnose the problem remotely. That might take a week or two, and if you can't start your car, you're not going to take it to a Tesla shop. That's not how that works right now, at least from the Tesla manufacturer. They might send somebody out there to fix it. If they can't fix it, they'll put it on a lift and then take it somewhere else. So that's misery that I don't know. Also, J.D. Power and Associates for the last 2 years rated Tesla as at the bottom for the least reliable vehicle. If it's not very reliable, I don't want to go through the misery of their customer care system. So it's not about the politics, it's about the vehicle, the quality of the vehicle, the quality of the interior, and the technology that goes into it.
That's one fiery response for a
It
delicate
is.
flower.
Yeah.
The only neutral
But
comment that I'll make on there is a boss's boss actually has one, and he sits at work and say he's traveling to Atlanta and he's from Philadelphia. You can be in Philadelphia and get a notification on your phone that your car was serviced. I think that's kind of cool. Furthermore, if you want it to be 66 degrees on a cold day, you can warm it up from across the country with your cell phone. Sorry, not being a tech guy. I think that's kind of cool, but I'll stay away from anything else. I just thought that those two things were worth mentioning.
I got that all right here, buddy. All right here.
The only thing that
Yeah.
ever made me want a Tesla was watching. You guys know who David Dobrik is?
Yeah.
YouTube. Yeah, that's the only thing that ever made me want a Tesla was because he could take his phone and he could have it come pick him up, from the parking spot to the door of wherever he was at. I love. Does yours do that?
So mine does not do that. Yeah, I can do it remotely. So there is a remote section but I have to physically do it. That's where I get nervous because that relies on sensors where he's using camera, which is a cheaper, outdated technology versus LiDAR. So it'll do it. I'm going to hold my breath a little bit more because he's using that outdated technology in his vehicles. Conscientiously so, because he was using LiDAR to save money.
I don't care what anybody says on this panel. I would act blind and overuse the technology.
Go for it. Yeah, I respect
Well,
it.
that's the most passionate part of the program so far.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to. I know that's supposed to be a dad joke, but I'm trying to dissect it.
No,
'cause I'm
what
not
I would
getting
do
it.
is in an area that I don't need it, nor is it very far to walk to my car, I would act like I don't know where my car is and then just have the car come right up to me. So everybody's picturing you getting in the car as being blind, then you get in the car and you just drive off. And
Oh
people are
yeah.
like, was
That'd
I
be
just rused here? Is this guy
Use it as a
buffaloing me?
meme.
And then I
As
would
a
also
meme.
use that to get out of traffic. If I'm in a
That-
traffic jam, I'm just going to kind of use that to my advantage and navigate a little quicker.
That actually gave me an idea. Like next time I can't find my car at the grocery store, I'm gonna pretend like I'm waiting for my Tesla. I'm gonna be like,
There she is.
There she is. But
"Aw."
we're going to help this little one out. Yes, we are. Yes, Daddy has something for you. Yes.
Does she get
an oyster?
Oh, you got
an oyster.
Yes, you
What a
did.
good
Yes.
girl.
You're going to get all of those later.
Watch
yes,
her.
you are.
Watch her spit it out.
What was that? Four on the elbow chart? She licked her roof a little bit there.
Yeah, did you like that? Huh? Okay. You want one too?
All
I
right.
can't have the Cadbury thing, right?
No, she can't have the
that's no
Cadbury
good.
thing. I wouldn't feed that to my dog. That's cruelty to animals.
Okay, guys, next one.
We're skipping 5 and going to 6.
We're going to 6. Sorry,
So,
Jared.
Jared, what does your middle name S stand for?
Schofield. Schofield.
That's a cool
Like-
middle name.
Like Schofield Barracks.
Oh, nice.
I've heard
Very
that
nice.
actually. I've heard that as a last name. I've never heard that as a middle name. I like that.
What do we have
This-
here? I'm guessing
Okay.
that this is the only product that I sent to you guys that you're all aware of that you've had before.
Probably.
I don't know. I think I've seen it. I think I've had the Fat Jims. Never
I
had
was
the.
gonna say, yeah. I'm Fat Jason. I can't say Slim Jim I've ever been called that.
There you go.
Jared had a spit out, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
He did a reversal of fortune.
From the Slim Jim.
I need the chocolate back. I need chocolate to wash out my. It's bad.
So, guys, this product began in the Amish Nation area of Pennsylvania, and then that was probably in the 1940s, 50s, and then was revived in the 90s by a famous wrestler, and so it really took off during that time. And I don't
Randy
remember
Savage.
who the wrestler was. Was it
Yeah,
Randy
Randy
Savage?
Randy Savage, right?
Ooh, yeah, the macho.
Just for historical significance, I got to be careful, but I was actually at the Macho Man Ricky Steamboat match, which is a top 5 wrestling match of all time. Savage jumped off the top rope and put a hole in Steamboat's larynx, allegedly, and he struggled talking for 6 to 8 weeks, just to add a little snap to
And-
the Slim Jim.
Oh,
And then
are
he-
you sure
he-
it wasn't from eating the Slim Jim?
He took the Slim Jim and like tickled the little hole.
One,
One.
that's pretty offensive for me. I just can't finish it. It just doesn't do it for me. And that aftertaste is rough.
I'll give it a 4, only because I'm like my mouth wasn't like because it's used to it. It knows the taste. So like it's one of those things where I could take it or leave it. Like I don't love it, but it comes in handy like when you're hiking or in a backpack or something like that.
I'm going to follow suit with that 4, kind of on the fisherman staple. And we've all had tons and tons of that in my 35 tournaments. Some type of jerky is going to be in the boat, probably 34 of those 35 tournaments, just because it is what it is. What I will say is I've noticed a major difference in certain brands with the refrigerated / cheese combo versus this one. And I found that the refrigerated variety of the exact same brand is much better refrigerated.
What part of the cow would this be?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just can't help. It's just
So Jared had a 1, Nick, you had a 4, Jason?
Just because I'm not original, so I'm just going to copy off Nouget there.
Got it. Okay, good. Let's go to the next one.
I believe this is the last one, yeah?
Worried me. I can almost curl this and gain muscle mass. This one's a little heavy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. India Flaky Sweets Pistachio. Yes. This is going to be hopeful. This is a hopeful. We could get past 5. We could get past 5. This is hopeful. This is so hopeful. Please don't let me down.
You always leave the best for last, don't you?
I've had this 10 years ago, so is the recipe the same as the question? Yeah.
Look at that.
Yes.
We've got some
yes.
Son Pop D here, friends.
Yes, yep.
Hold on, I have someone at my door. I think that's Betty Crocker.
Huh.
Oh, wow, interesting packaging.
Grand reveal.
This is like when you, like at Christmas, when the family member that gives you the present inside the present inside the present.
Like the Russian dolls.
Yes, like the Russian dolls.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow,
I've used that analogy before. No one knew what the heck I was talking about. I'm glad someone else knows. Ooh, it smells good.
It's sweet. I don't get the pistachio like I used to.
Very flaky.
I guess I don't have a choice but to add some oyster juice to this with the fork.
I like the texture, though, because it disintegrates, but it's pleasant. It's not as grainy.
This is probably similar to if you've ever had halva before. This is made with garbanzo bean flour, regular flour, sugar, cardamom, interesting Indian spices.
Rose
it's a
water.
spun sugar type of product.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Neapolitan wafer cookies or wafer crackers. How you get the strawberry,
the
vanilla,
cream stuff in there. It's not like cream. It's more like a flake. Yeah, you're right.
It doesn't have the nuttiness that I associate with Havla. Very delicate, but very sweet. I love the texture because it's flaky, but then it disintegrates because it is just sugar. I wish it was a little nuttier. I get the cardamom, but I also get almost tastes like rose water in there.
Yep, there probably is rose water in there. All Indian sweets are over the top sweet, by the way. Indian sweets are so sweet because it's usually a balance of their pretty overly spicy dishes like curries and so on. This is the balance for that.
I think my Saget ratings got to go up at least one number because the QC people were kind enough to cut it into serviceable squares rather than just all one piece and then I got to eat too much or too little. So you can of back out of this ordeal by just having one square. And I will double down and say the fork was the wrong utensil. It needed to be a spoon, a large spoon.
Exactly.
Just for ease of crumbling because it was almost multi-layered even though it looked like a solid square.
I'm going to give this a 6. This is probably my overall favorite, texturally, flavor-wise. It's a little sweet, but like you said, that's what Indian food is intended to be.
I thought you were about to eat another Slim Jim, but you were giving that to the pup, weren't you?
I am, because that's a viral.
She loves it.
That's a viral clip right there.
How many paws do we give this?
Yeah, you didn't even taste it. You inhaled it, so you're going to give this a 10 paw, aren't you? It's the best thing, huh? You all disappoint me. It would have been funny if you spit it out and I got it on video.
Nick, what do you think of the Son Pop D?
I give it a 5, but this is one of those things where depending on my mood and that kind of thing, I probably could go in either direction on it, to be honest. It wasn't bad. It certainly wasn't anything close to the oysters, which I would, kind of give the equivalent of a group text with your exes.
Jason?
I would have to score that a 6. As ironic as it sounds, I would almost say cinnamon on it to kill the over sweetness, because to me that was a little sugary for my liking. Liked the texture, liked the packaging, liked a lot about it, but just the last taste was sugar sweet. I'd like more subtleness in that. The packaging was impressive. You can tell it's not. I don't believe that's a United States product based on the writing. Obviously, you kind of described that, but that would be my overall review of that product.
Very good.
I'm going to say let's leave out the wafers on the banana pudding and let's replace it with that. We got to grind it down and make it finer and just kind of sprinkle that on the top.
I feel like we're talking about like jailhouse recipes.
I'm so glad that you guys got to try it. There was only that one that you were familiar with, the Slim Jim. Everything else was kind of unfamiliar with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I feel like I've had something similar to the crackers, the can of crackers, but yeah. And then I recognize the company for the flake. I recognize Cadbury. I haven't had that though. And then I've had the Delta crackers, the Biscoff.
The only one that I hadn't had was the shiitake mushrooms. I've had the rest somewhere.
Is that the group favorite? Is that the overall group favorite? Would we say the
yeah,
mushrooms?
what do you think is the top one? Was it the last one you just tried, the Senbei, or was it the mushroom?
So if I was going to rank them, I would do the Senbei just because no, I'm going to do the shiitake mushrooms. They're a 6.5, and the reason is because they did have a little diversity of flavor too. And then after a couple of bites of the Senbei, it's sticking in the back of your throat.
Too
so
much.
I would rank 6.5. I would do mushrooms, the Senbei. Then I would do the Biscoff number 4. And honestly, it's going to be a tie. The oysters, and then the last two are just a push at the bottom.
Nick, how would you rate them in order?
Exactly the same. I was playing it over my head as he was saying it. I would rate them exactly the same.
Jason?
I'd have to go mushrooms, mixed crackers, the last one, Popti, I believe, and the oysters, and then Slim Jim, and then the Flocky. That's how I would go.
You know, guys, Nick and Jason, when Jared and I were on your show a few weeks ago, I saw that it got a ton of views.
It did.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was at the time that was the best ever, and that was over a year. We've been going on for over a year, so that was the best when that episode aired that we'd ever had. Best we'd ever had.
I would say the dynamic of this crowd is nice because I think we're all fun-loving people with good hearts, right? We like to see people enjoy our day-to-day thoughts. Jared's cool quality is in 90 seconds, he can give you that real, you can be with him at the steakhouse enjoying X, Y, and Z. Nick is self-explanatory because we work together. And then you've done a great job assembling this crowd and getting to try this because I've tried 6 things that I've never tried, nor would I ever get to experience those. So being a basic food eater because of time, this was nice to actually enjoy. And quite frankly, I didn't get to eat lunch, so now I'm actually full with some pretty decent, healthy alternatives. Not necessarily that I'd sit down and choose, but it was neat. It was neat. It's nice to show some differences. There's some good stuff overall. It was enjoyable.
Well, fantastic. Jared, tell us what's next for you and what you're up to with your career.
Just released the spring tier list for top restaurants in Oklahoma for casual dining and also fine dining. Next month, I'm going to be going to Oklahoma City to check out Bar Sen, Jeff Chanchaloon, a 4-time James Beard nominated chef, 2-time finalist. He just released his second restaurant. And then also, I believe on the April 2nd, the James Beard announcement for the finalists. And I always love to check out the finalist restaurants. So it's been interesting to see if Oklahoma makes any finalist splashes. And if so, I'll be checking those out. You can find me at Jared Gleaton Eats on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Jared Gleaton Eats on YouTube as well. Primarily Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube.
Fantastic. And Nick and Jason, who's coming up on Mosaic Minds podcast?
So we just had his name is, in fact, you guys might have heard of him. His name is Jonathan Taylor, and he is a classical guitar player. He's been all over the world. He's done some really cool things with some cool people. Very eccentric guy. He's from California. And honestly, the funnest part of the interview had nothing to do with music. He's really, you guys would like him. He's definitely one of our crowd. Like you would like him. And
fantastic.
And we've kind of dove face first into a project here recently with it's a new movie that's come out. It's an independent movie, and it's called The Waiting Game, and it's about the ABA players that were left behind after the NBA merge, and a lot of them are homeless. They don't have health care, and Dropping Dimes is a group that gets together and they raise money in order to help these guys. So this movie brings attention to that organization, and so we kind of try to get as involved in that as we can because it's just been an organization that has been around with us since the beginning. One of our early guests brought it to light, and we've just kind of really taken that on. So that's something that we're pretty involved in right now.
Let me ask you about that a little bit because it's interesting to me. Were the NBA players, they were all professional athletes. Were they not paid handsomely during their careers, even though they weren't getting a lot of pension and other related aspects of salary?
So there was and I'll let Jason speak on this. But there was the ABA and then there was the NBA. ABA, they were kind of like they were the league that would allow anyone to play. So it was more diverse. They allowed more black players. They would allow people to have tattoos and have afros, and they brought the halftime show. They brought the 3-point shot. They brought a lot of the flair to what the NBA is now. And the ABA didn't make the kind of money, not just the players, but the organization. So they had to either merge or they were going to go away.
Yeah.
So the NBA took part of their players, but not everyone. And the rest of them that were promised pensions just got kind of left behind.
Jason, did you want to add to that a little bit?
Yeah, just a little bit. Like 25 to 60,000 was considered a really high salary. Now the worst guy on a basketball team in the NBA is probably making 6 to 8 million. So you're looking at a team of 12 basketball players, 2 managers, 3 coaches, and 4 trainers making much less than what I would call the end of the bench guy today. And you're looking at a $312 pension per year served. Then the irony in all this is current NBA players get 140% dollar for dollar match in a 401k plan. And I don't want to diatribe on this show, but that is unbelievable. Quick stat, if you drop $10 million into a 401k, the NBA drops $14 million into that $10 million investment, and you have $24 million for a $10,000 investment. These guys here that were the Trailblazers and the Pioneers are getting $1,000 for 3 years of service, and they can't afford dentures. They can't afford knees, hips.
Is that in any way an apples and oranges situation? The ABA was, some 60 years ago, and there wasn't broadcast monies being brought into professional sports during that time. How do you address that?
Yeah, I think you're right. That part, yes. I mean, as far as the pay, what the pay was then versus the pay now, it's more of, just the taking care of the dignity of the people that made you what you are now. It's really more, I'm not even talking about legal. I'm talking about just doing what's right. You know what I mean? It bothers me a lot to see some of the players that when they first put together the Dropping Dimes Foundation, they helped a guy out that all he wanted was a suit to go to church.
Yeah.
It's all he wanted. He couldn't even afford that. And so they came together and they bought this guy a suit. And now they've gotten to where, and I got to give Scott Tarter, he's the guy that him with a couple others put together this, and he has done a ton of work.
The ABA was 1967 to 1976. Then the NBA took over. The ABA had 8 original franchises. The NBA swallowed up is the only way to put it to you.
Yeah. And
all of the teams. 4 of the teams continued. 4 of them did not. Then the ABA teams had to pay a lot of money for the TV markets to establish in the NBA. They didn't get draft picks. So it definitely was not a merger.
It was a break-off. So, but what happened essentially was, just to clarify, because you brought out apples to apples, it's not so much that you're saying the millions now. It's whenever the break-off happened, I won't say disenfranchisement, but inequity occurred because the NBA then went on the path to make the money, and the ABA was, well, you're gonna have to pay the NBA just to continue doing what you're doing, and then there was almost no money, no nothing for the remaining ABA players who stayed there. Am I correct with that?
And that was not what they were led to believe either.
Yeah, that I think is the issue. The split. This one went this way, and the other one went this way, and that's correct. The injustice.
So are you saying then that the ABA continued after the NBA absorbed them?
I think they're technically around.
Stopped in like overnight almost, in 1976 after 9 years. So the problem is a guy that was 3 years was promised a pension, if you will, and the pension never articulated. 50 years goes by and these guys are passing away. There's no nice way to put it to your audience. These guys are dying out here and they can't even get enough money to save their dignity and their health care. And now they've given a drop in the bucket, but there's still more cause to fight because a drop in the bucket is far from taking these guys back to where there should be, financially is the point, because the recent players have, I got to make a decision between, do I want 12 cars or 9 cars? And it's just, it's a little bit of a fight of equality and what's right. The same thing that we fight for on this panel. We have our opinions, and, I think we live in a great country. I think it's great to have diversity, but I also think doing what's right for mankind. I think we all 4 agree on this panel. That's what it's all about.
That's a good cause, guys. I'm glad you're doing that. And
you can see the movie mostly by going to their private screenings. That's how they're raising money. You can also see it on their website, I think for like $10 or something like that. Like you can stream it on there. It's I believe it's waitinggamemovie.com. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I'm glad you brought that up. Jared, back to you for a second. James Beard Awards, will they be streamed live?
They were last year, I believe.
Huh.
That they're on the
Okay.
16th of June, I think.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
something that I think a lot of people watching now would be interested in seeing.
Yeah.
And Nick and Jason, back to you for a second. I think I have somebody who would be a great guest for you when you're ready. David Page is a buddy of mine, and he's the creator of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives.
Okay, yeah.
And I think he might be right up your alley. He's a character like all of us.
Heck yeah.
That'd be great,
awesome.
yeah.
And Jared, I'm willing to offer him to you as well.
Please do.
If there's anything that you could do with him.
I would love to. My approach is a little different than Guy Fieri. I don't love everything I eat, but I love Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives because you get to see what's going on in the world. I love it.
They parted ways, and not in the best of terms. But David is a really cool guy. And so if you guys want him on the show, want to interview him, anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, let me move aside here so y'all can see Mosaic Minds.
Mosaic Minds. It's a really good show, and I have to say that because both Jared and I were on there, and I actually watch it when I'm not the guest. So that's saying something. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me and doing the food thing. I don't think it was a huge success from a food standpoint, but it was fun to watch you guys feed the food to the doggy, make the faces and all that. I really thought it was interesting.
It was a lot of fun. I love doing that.
I thought it was a lot of fun. And
Great
I think
idea.
It's going to resonate because, I mean, it's eating food and getting reactions. They're viral reactions. I mean, I would reach out to some of these Biscoff and say, you want honestly, what do you think of Biscoff? What do you snap into a Slim Jim 2025?
Yeah. I could see some funds coming your way from the mushroom company. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, those good mushrooms.
I think we got something here, guys. I think my review is it's rare that you have 4 people from diverse backgrounds. I would say not a split, but obviously we're not professional food critics. We just like to eat. There's a difference there, right? I would say this. I like the diversification. I like the fact that we can get on this. And quite frankly, I'd like to see more of it on multiple platforms, on each other's. Seeing each other rise is exciting too. Everybody's profile has risen. The watermark's risen since the 4 of us have met individually and professionally. And it's just great to be part of it, man. It almost brings me kind of emotional, if you will. Because it's just great to see the rise of everybody.
I'm going to hand you a hanky, Jason, and congratulate you and Nick both for just kicking ass with Mosaic Minds. So let's say aloha now. Daddy needs a new wardrobe. Thank you, man.
Great talking with you. This was so much fun. I hope to do it again soon.
Was fun.
Good. We're looking forward to it. Aloha.